Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to Healthy Waves, the live group podcast where we dive deep into the most pressing topics with the top experts from various fields. So, whether you are tuning in to learn, be inspired, or just curious about a new perspective, that so you are in the right place. So here at Healthy Waves, we don't just ride the waves of trends, but we create them with the meaningful expert driven discussions and that challenge the status quo and empower you to live your best life. So I'm your host Avik, and today we are bringing you a powerful conversation that combines the health, fitness, healing in ways that are as dynamic as they are transformative. So I'll not take much of your time. So we'll dive in and we'll quickly introduce you to two of our lovely guests. I'll start with Dana. Dana is there. So she is a wife, mother, and the author of the best-selling book "Gasping for Air: The Strange Hold of Narcissistic Abuse." So her lifelong experience with the narcissistic abuse, starting in childhood, has fueled her passion to be a voice for the victims who feel voiceless. It's really awesome. So, with a background in journalism and psychology from DePaul University, she has the unique ability to articulate the complex and often misunderstood effects of narcissistic abuse. So today she is here and she will use her platform to create the awareness, support the victims, and guide them through the healing process. Her journey from trauma to empowerment is nothing sort of inspiring. So we are excited to delve into her story and expertise today. So welcome to the show, Dana.
Thank you so much.
Lovely, lovely. Also, on the other hand, we have Tywin with us. So he is a dedicated father of five, husband, and seasoned fitness coach who has transforming lives over 15 years. So born into the challenging circumstances, he has defied the odds from day one. So excelling in the sports and earning a full ride scholarship to play the Division One football. So after discovering the corporate world wasn't for him, he found his true calling in the fitness industry, where he has since helped thousands of men go from fat to fit in just 90 days. So no fat diets, no guessing, just results. So join us as Tyvin shares his incredible journey and insights on how to harness the mind-body connections for the lasting health and the fitness. So welcome to the show, Tywin.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's good to be here with both of you guys.
It's lovely, lovely, great. So I'll quickly start with Tywin. So your journey began like under incredibly challenging circumstances. So how did your early life experiences shape your approach to the fitness and the coaching? What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you, probably every you guys don't know, so I was born a drug and alcohol addicted baby. I was born straight into foster care. So, again, produced some pretty challenging situations, but again, that situation really made me and turned me into the man who I am today. So, from a very young age, just kind of overcoming obstacles and struggles and things like that was just a part of life. And again, my struggles may sound a little different than maybe the person listening, but I think we all have struggles and obstacles that we overcome, and it's what we do through those situations that really determine who we become as a people. So I think we have a way to using those as a almost like a superpower when you can learn to uh, really like change the framework and how we look at those things. So by far, I'm super grateful that I went through those situations, and I wouldn't change anything because again, it's made me the person that I am today and has allowed me to help so many others through the process.
Exactly, exactly true. Yeah. Thanks for sharing this, Evan. And so, Dana, I'll come to you. Your book, Gasping for Air, delves deeply into the effects of the narcissistic abuse. So, how has this abuse affected your own mental and the physical health over the years?
I mean, it was awful. I was not as resilient so early
Mhm.
on as our other guests here, but it took me about 45 years to kind of discover, like, hey, wait a second, I have the power to determine my life. I don't have to be what other people said I am, or I don't have to be reduced to what they want to reduce me to unless I give them that power. So I think that we can relate on that level of having those challenging childhoods. But I wholeheartedly agree. And I felt that, Tywin, when you said that, would I want things to have been different? Yeah, of course. Don't we all? But what happened made me who I am and put me in the position to be who I am today. And I'm grateful for that. So I wouldn't want to change it. I mean, 2020 is always, or what is that? Hindsight's always 2020. But I think looking forward is where we have to be, because if we're continuously looking back, we're just going to be held back to that victimhood and those circumstances. And, there's a reason they say the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror. So we have to look forward. And there is so much out there, and I'm sure, again, Tywin, whether it's mental or physical, even when I was born, my legs were kind of turned in. So my legs had to be broken. And, I couldn't walk like all the rest of the kids did at the young age. But you know what? I coached cross country for 9 years. And when people said, you can't do this, guess who did it? I made sure I did it. Like, nobody's going to tell me what I can and can't. I get to decide that. So whether it's mental, physical, everybody has choices. And that's what I definitely want people to realize. I think we both are working in that respect.
Perfect, lovely. That's I totally agree. Yep. So also, Tywin, I really love that tagline. It's not a tagline, but yes, I really love that fact to fit in 90 days. So, I mean, just to understand, like, how do you incorporate the mental health and the mind body connection into your fitness programs?
Awesome. I actually want to go back to something Dana said because it was so powerful. And I want to make sure people didn't miss it, because the correlation between what she said and what I do and your question, it's exactly the same. And she said, taking back the power
Hmm.
and not, being who society says you are and your friends told you are, and like, this story that we've told
Yes.
ourselves. And it's legitimately the exact same thing. Everybody has this story, this framework that they've told us, and that story comes through past situations. It comes through experiences that we went through, what our parents told us, what the school system told us, and then what happens is we get buried in that, and we don't even know who we are.
Yeah.
And it was so cool hearing her say, I think she said it took her into her, I think she said she was 45. She
45.
went on this. But here's the coolest thing about this. A lot of people they don't even understand they're not operating in their true selves. They don't even understand that. So it's like when that happens and people understand, like, man, I'm not, and it's different for everybody, but sometimes it's a feeling, sometimes it's an inclination, sometimes it's a major trauma.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's something we hear, but at that moment you realize like you're not congruent. And then like that's kind of where your journey starts. So like kudos to you for even getting there and then working through all that, because that's a fun process, as I'm sure you know.
Yep.
And then, so it's like what I do is honestly the fitness side of it, the eating healthy. Everybody knows what to do. Let's not shit like eat less, move your body more.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody knows that, well, then what's the problem? Well, the problem is their belief system. The problem is their perception about. I mean, literally, it's on the board behind me. It's your beliefs, your values, your
Yes.
thinking, your emotions, then your actions and your results. So, kind of like again to kind of answer your question is, it's up here. It's this. There's no
Absolutely.
shortage of information. We live in an information era. There's information everywhere. The trick is the implementation part, and I think that's where people like myself, sounds like people like Dana, kind of come in handy, and we help people take those pieces and put them together. And it's super powerful when we do that. So I'm excited to hear more about Dana and what she does, because man, this is awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm
What
essentially
makes
doing what you do. It's just that I'm coming at it from a different area. Although there is, people don't understand the mind body relation. There are so many ways in which it correlates. Like in what you do, I know people that have struggled, and I too have struggled with an eating disorder because of things that were told to me in childhood. I grew up believing, I mean, from the time I was 5, 6 years old, my stepfather who abused me, part of the verbal abuse was that toast is going to make you fat. You shouldn't be eating
Mm.
carbs. That, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you're going to get fat. You're going to look like a middle-aged woman. So I was terrified of gaining this. I was down to 93 pounds at my smallest, and that's not cute. No 40-some-year-old woman should be 93 pounds and skeletal. That's not healthy. So it's interesting that as I'm trying to gain weight, I know women who have lost tons of weight and men, and they still feel, and forgive me for using these terms because I don't mean disrespect to anyone listening, but people will say, I still feel like a fat girl or a fat guy in my mind. I will never feel my new weight. Whereas I'm the opposite. I was the tiny little skinny girl that feels uncomfortable because like I feel the extra 10 pounds on me now. I mean, I'm 107 pounds and it's like, oh my gosh, I feel so big, but I'm not. And it's all in your head, just like with the people I work with. I'll never get out of my relationship. I will never, I'm not good enough. It's all in their mind. I thought the same thing. And as I put it in my book, I thought I was being held in my former marriage. And when I realized that collar and leash I thought I was on, I was holding myself onto, it wasn't actually him holding the leash. It was me. I had put that collar around. I had locked it up and handed him the end of it. And when I realized I could take that off and I was free, boy, did the game change. It's a very powerful thing when we call it waking up. But when you can tap into that power and realize how powerful you are, your life will change. And I love a word you used, Ty, when you talked about alignment. And boy, when your passion and everything that's deep within you, your desires and your goals and your life and your mind, everything starts to align. It's amazing how easily life goes for you. It's much more smooth. I always say people are constantly trying to fit that puzzle piece into that spot that it just quite doesn't fit into, but that's them. They're trying to put themselves there because we're so afraid of change and we're so unsure of the outcome and people are so afraid to fail. And guess what? I mean, look at Walt Disney, my favorite story. How many times was he rejected? Nobody wanted to give him money. I think over 100 some banks, lenders refused to give him loans. He went bankrupt multiple times. But if he hadn't persisted, we wouldn't have Mickey Mouse to take our kids to, right? We wouldn't have Disney World and this billion-dollar industry. But we have the same power in ourselves. We just have to decide what we want. And if it's what you really want, there's no stopping you. And it's right there. I think we all have this idea that like we can't have everything we want. Usually it's right in front of us though. And as you said, Tywin, it's interesting because I have always been very involved in physical fitness because I tell people, just like you work out to keep your body in shape, you have to work your mind out. You have to meditate. You have to self-reflect. You have to do things to feed it the nourishment it needs to live a full life. And, it's funny that people tend to ignore one or the other. They're very mindful, but let their bodies go, or they're very into their physical fitness, but they think mental health means you're nuts and you're not. It's just a matter of keeping everything in shape. But it's a wonderful thing when you can bring them both together and have that power. Because for me, feeling physically well helps my mind feel, better as well. Getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, eating the right things. Because I always laugh at people. I used to tell my cross country kids, if you want to be a runner, if you want to be a performance athlete and excel, and you don't have to, but if you want to, You don't eat Doritos. You don't eat McDonald's. You know, racing cars don't put the cheap fuel in them. They use racing fuel. And it's the same thing with our mind. What thoughts are we telling ourselves? What are we reading? What are we exposing ourselves to on social media and on television and what have you? So it's a very wonderful thing. And I always challenge people to just say one thing to themselves. What do I want? Whether it's in the whole scheme of life or with relation to a certain aspect of it, what do I want? You know, is it with, you know, Tywin, I'm sure you get people that come to you that say, oh, well, I want to be 200 pounds, you know, less in weight. And it sounds nice, but are they really willing to do, are they ready for it? And I get people that say, I want to get out of that abusive relationship. But do they really want it? Because sometimes they think they do, but for some reason, they're just not ready, or they're holding themselves back from it. But when they're really ready, we're both here. We're going to help them, lead them in the direction, herd them to the direct resources to be able to tap into that.
You said something that's really powerful, and I hope people caught it, because sometimes when you're going through this and you're in the middle of the storm, everything seems hard and challenging, almost like you're never going to get out of it. But one of the things you said, and I say this all the time, look, once you're in alignment, it's easy. It comes so fast, you're not even going to believe it.
Right.
And that's why I always say 90 days, because honestly, it doesn't take 90 days. And let me explain this. So when I say fat to fit in less than 90 days, first of all, words have meaning. I use the word fat for a reason, because when I say fat, it doesn't feel good. It's a pattern interrupt, right? Because we sugarcoat words. We make ourselves feel not so bad about them. So when I say plus size or overweight or all of that doesn't have no sting to it. But when I say fat, it doesn't sound good. Most people are like, wow, you're being rude or that's insensitive. No, that's just the truth. It's not. I don't mean no. I'm not judging your character or anything based on that. I'm just literally stating a fact. And it creates a pattern interrupt. So, and then again, going from fat to fit in 90 days, like, is someone going to lose 80 pounds in 90 days? No, that's not going to happen. But here's where the change really happens. It happens here. As soon as you get in alignment, now we just have to sit back and wait for time to run its course. You know, we just have to wait for the gestation process to really happen. So I hope people really understand and caught that. So if you are listening to this and you're in the middle of the storm and you're going through it and you think it's hard and you think you're never going to get out of it, it's so, like, a transformation is so much closer than you think it really is. And a person like Dana or myself can help you get there a lot faster. So
yeah, and I want to add on to that too, because what you said is so poignant, is that I think so many people, especially in this instant gratification society, I always say everyone wants to press the easy button. Like, people say, oh, I'm on my healing journey. I want to start my healing journey. And I'm like, honey, your fairy godmother is not going to come wave a magic wand while you sleep and you're going to wake up suddenly not depressed and not sad, you know, and all your childhood angst is going to be gone. That's not how it works. When you talk about a storm, I use that, you know, symbolism all the time, because people think like it just happens and everything's great. No, if you want to get fit physically, man, it's rough. I mean, like I said, I ran cross country, and even though I was physically fit and mentally self-disciplined, I had to reach down in myself for more discipline when it was 110 degrees in the middle of August, in the middle of the afternoon, and I've got 20 kids whining about how hot it is and we're running 5 miles. That takes some hard discipline, and it sucks. But boy, does it feel good after it. It feels so good when you accomplish that and you cross that finish line and you did it. And it doesn't matter how sweaty and nasty you are, it feels good. And it's the same way with mental healing. It's awful. You think I liked going back to my childhood, reliving memories, and my body, the stomach aches and the nausea and all these physical, these psychosomatic symptoms that come back. But you have to basically open yourself up to that storm, that ugliness. But I tell people, you got to get through the storm to get to the rainbow and the sunshine. You have to do the work. There's nothing good that comes easy until you get through that hard part. But again, Once you get there and you're aligned and you're living authentically, which is really what a lot of this is about, then everything's good. You can, the way you react to things is better, or you can go into, a situation in a restaurant and not panic about what am I going to eat, or what am I going to tell people, or how do I look, or am I going to have a trigger mentally about, there's so many things that people are so worried about, and you just stop worrying. You develop this inner peace where you just feel really good about yourselves. And I love that, actually, the verbiage, because I'm obviously a word girl being a writer. And I love that you even use that word fat for the point that you use it for, because that's one thing that I'm a stickler about, is how people refer to themselves and what that means to them. Because I get tired of hearing I'm broken, I'm damaged. Nobody is broken or damaged. We are all affected. And let me tell you, we all go through some crap in life. But, I heard somebody say once, you have to, flowers bloom from the dirt. You have to go through the muck to get something valuable. And I hope that whatever that is, that grit and that resilience or that strength that we develop in that helps us. It helps us to grow and to learn and to move forward with those lessons that we now carry.
Wow, that's lovely. Really loved it. Yeah. And okay, so I'll again come to Dana. Like, uh, in your experience, how does trauma, uh, particularly from the narcissistic abuse, manifest physically in the victims?
There's a lot there. And I want to just give some perspective on narcissistic abuse. People think it's like just a certain type of abuse. It is not. It just means when a narcissist abuses you. It can be physical, verbal, psychological, sexual, legal, financial. They will use any and all tactics to harm you. But the main effect, and I forgive me, but I have been physically assaulted and abused, and that all healed and went away. But that verbal stuff, that psychological stuff, the depression, the anxiety, the feeling not good enough and feeling unworthy, it seeps into the way you present outwardly in the world. It attracts, other people like that to you. You're not gonna, you're never gonna achieve what you want to achieve or be what you want to be when you're not attracting the same type of people. I feel very strongly about you are who you associate with. So a lot of people do fall into that victimhood. And I was one of them. I get it. I understand. But when you can release yourself from that, it's so much better. Because for me, and this, we have had a conversation before, Avik, that, part of the reason I wrote my book and the reason it's called Gasping for Air is that 40 some years of abuse, I had so much cortisol, the stress hormone, running through my body. And Tywin, that causes all this weight gain. Not for me. I dropped weight, but it was such an awful thing. My body thought it had to eradicate something. So the white blood cells killed themselves off. They were even killing the red blood cells. My entire organ system was in havoc. I ended up with a rare lung syndrome, which is the scratchiness you hear in my voice. I have never in my entire life of 48 years smoked a cigarette, but I have an oxygen machine next to me. What I have is called upper airway resistance syndrome, and it is because of 4 decades of living in fight or flight for so long. The doctor says it's like having COPD and fibromyalgia all at once. But yet again, I said, that's fine. I have it. Nothing I can do. Souvenir from my first marriage, I guess, and from my childhood. But did that stop me having an oxygen machine? Did that stop me from running those kids in cross country? I still work out every single day. Some days I can't. I just can't. I will lose my breath. I get it. But that doesn't mean I can't do it later or tomorrow or ever. I get to choose that. And even when the doctor sat me down and said, your hands are numb already, your arms are numbing, your feet are going to be next, you'll probably be in a wheelchair before the end of your life, I said, like hell I will. And he said, well, just be careful. You don't want to, put too much of a burden. Don't exercise too much. I said, dude, I'm going to run 5 miles more every day now. You're not going to tell me that my feet are going to stop. You tell me I can't, and I will. I can, because that's how I talk to myself. But too many people fall into that victimhood, or the doctor said I can't, so I'm just going to sit here and feel sorry for myself. Or I weigh too much, right, Ty? When you get the, I weigh too much, I'm never gonna, why should I bother? Well, but you can. You just have to decide you can. But the mental and physical, it's all interrelated, because even now to this day, even though I am safe and I am gaining weight and I'm healthier, I still, on certain days, I mean, we all have our missteps. Something might, stress me mentally, or remind me, trigger me back to some awful experience, some awful time. And I will have the stomach aches, the migraines, my body is reacting. I get nauseous. I've just written 2 more books, one about my childhood and one about after all of that, the healing part. And I want to focus more on the healing. But when I'm taken back to that place, yeah, there's going to be, it's the psychosomatic connection. I have physical symptoms as a result of the mental. And again, Ty, when you deal with it, because like I said, the cortisol, when people are going through anxiety or whatever in their lives, it affects their bodily systems. It affects their weight. It affects their hormones. It affects all these things that, will affect their physical health in some way.
Understood.
Mhm.
So, okay, I'll come to Taiwan. So you have been in the fitness industry for 15 years. So how have you seen the conversion around the mental health and the fitness evolve, particularly for the men?
So just so I'm clear before I answer, I want to make sure I'm clear on your question. So your question is, how have I seen the industry evolve in terms from a mental aspect? Is that the question?
Yeah,
Cool.
exactly.
So I would probably say the industry in general, it hasn't evolved much, and it needs to evolve way more. Because
Okay.
again, like this is awesome being on the phone or on the line and talking with Dana, because there's so much similarities.
Yeah.
People get caught up in the workouts and all that other stuff, the exterior stuff, but that's not really the main thing that needs to change. It's what's going on in the inside. Because what happens in the inside is just it's expressed through the outside, whether it's the weight and or whatever that is. That's not the real issue. So if you're saying, oh, I got to go to the gym, okay, great, yeah, that'd be nice. Or oh, I got to eat, okay, that's great. But there's other stuff we have to deal with. That's why you see people lose weight and they'll gain it back. But not only do they gain it back, they gain more than they had before. People don't understand. Most people don't even talk about like stress. And what
Mhm.
Dana just talked about, Evan, this is so powerful. People don't understand the effects that stress can have on your body. You can do everything else right. You can be eating healthy, you can be exercising. If you're stressed, it ain't happening. You're not getting results. So, and that can lead to frustration. That can lead to like people quitting this other stuff. And I think a lot of people in the industry, they just honestly, they don't understand the correlation between the two of those. Stress is one of the worst things you can put on your body. It wreaks havoc on you, absolute havoc, because people don't understand like being stressed. Remember, our bodies have not really evolved that much, meaning stress is literally like if we go back in the days, it's equivalent to getting chased by a saber-toothed tiger.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that doesn't happen in today's time, but our body is reacting the same way. So
Mhm.
most people lit. So imagine getting chased by a saber-toothed tiger 24 hours a day, 7 days a week
That
for
was
years.
me.
Like what? And
That
Dana,
was me.
she just like your body can't handle
No.
that, you know. So the mental side of this, honestly, it plays more than probably anything else. Um, so it needs to evolve much more. I think conversations like this, where people are starting to see the correlation, because no one ever puts the correlation together. They think, oh, I want to lose weight. I need to go to the gym. Well, okay, yeah, but you don't have to. Or I need to do this. Like, but when people start seeing the correlation between different things, a lot more stuff happens. Even when Dana was talking about, her doctor told her. And I hear this all the time. I love doctors.
I
Uh,
know. Me too.
her doctor told her, take it easy, don't do too much. What really was happening is that doctor was about to put a seed of belief inside her.
Right.
Luckily, she rejected it. Most people don't. Most people, what doctor says, like doctors like gods. And again, I love doctors. They're great. We need them. However, that's his opinion. That's his professional opinion based on his past, his education, and his current experience. If she would have bought into that belief, that's the seed that belief would have became her value would have became her thinking would have became emotions, and she would have acted upon that, and then those are the results that she would have got. But because she rejected it, and this is so important for people to do that, you have to reject it, because people are always constantly trying to take their beliefs and give them to you. And more often than not, we're accepting other people's beliefs. This is how it's kind of back to the first conversation that we talked about. Most people have no clue who they even are, what they like, what they don't like, what they have zero clue.
Yeah. I appreciate what you said so much, because this is exactly what you just described about planting those seeds and planting those thoughts and beliefs. That exactly describes what I went through in my childhood, why people like me grow up thinking they're not enough and they never will and they never can. And, all these things that lead to, teenage suicide and depression and the rebellion with the drugs and the alcohol and all this stuff that people rely on to feel better, but they never feel better at the core, which is why nothing ever gets resolved. And then, like me, I went into adulthood thinking I'm never going to let anyone treat me that way. I don't buy into those beliefs, but I bought into those beliefs. I had internalized them. I let those seeds grow inside of me, and then married a man who perpetuated that, because there was something about him that was familiar, and everything he said aligned. There's that word again, with my mother and stepfather, who they all thought these things about me. So it must be true. If, like you said, the doctors, it's the same as mom and dad and the spouse. These are people who we rely on, to hopefully be honest with us, and whose opinions we value. And they're all telling me things about myself, creating, like you said before, a story, a narrative about who I am and what I can be or not be, dictating basically what my life is. And I remember at the end of my marriage, again, it took me forever, but finally, thank God, I realized, wait a second. I remember saying to my ex-husband, I don't even feel like I'm living my life. I'm going through the motions of a life I was told I was supposed to live, but it's not resonating. It's not. This is why people aren't happy. This is why people want to change things about their life, or change maybe their mindsets, or maybe they decide to get fit. There's so much there, but it is all about beliefs. And even, going back to verbiage and what people believe, talking about being fit, Tywin, being fit to a 600-pound person might mean being 550 pounds and walking every day, because that's really a goal, a realistic goal for them. Being fit for a 160-pound man might mean building his muscle mass, doing, things like that. Being fit for this girl, who I always thought was active and fit and ate right and all organic and all this stuff and ran, I got sick, and being fit for me started to be, I need to be healthy. I needed to gain a little weight, and I needed to just maintain, keep my heart beating at a normal pace and keep my blood pressure up. And so all these things, we have to take what is given to us, take what is told to us, take what we read and what we hear, and put it into a perspective that, again, using this word, aligns with what it is that's realistic and true about ourselves. And Tywin, thank you for saying that. Most people don't know jack about themselves, honestly. I know that a big part of what I do, when people are coming out of or realizing that they're in a bad situation and want out of it, they have lost themselves. I have lost myself, in that first marriage tremendously. Because as a child, I still held on to who I was. But in that first marriage, I lost myself. And that's the first thing I tell people to do. Yes, you'll need therapy and all this other stuff, but start with basic things. What color do I like? What do I want to eat for dinner? And you'd be surprised, even when I started doing that. I remember my first night free of my abusive ex, I'm standing in the kitchen. Like I had been told, I mean, everything was so regimented. I couldn't even tell you what I wanted for dinner. And then when I'm like, you have permission, it's okay. Forgive me. It's not a fit thing, but I was like, I want a pint of butter pecan ice cream. And you know what? I ate that crap up like nobody's business. And it was really good. But, it's about reintroducing ourselves to who we really are, finding who that is. Do you want to be the guy with the muscles and have all that? Do you want to be a runner? Are you a guy who likes to play basketball? Are you a girl that likes to, be toned and fit, or, whatever it is? Do you want to be mindful? Do you want to be self-aware? We have to figure out who we are and go with it. And then we'll be living a really nice life. You come to that inner peace when you're not trying to be or working towards being what other people think you are or what other people told you should be.
I think, Dana, one of the things you said, you were talking about eating ice cream. And kudos to you for saying that and never apologize for eating really good ice cream. And this is like, I get it. It kind of, and I love that this came up because it falls under one of those things like people are like, okay, we can't have this and we can't have that. Don't tell him. No. You can have whatever you want. You just can't have whatever you want whenever you
all
want.
the time. Yeah.
So when people learn, because life is about balance,
Yes.
restriction doesn't work. And I don't believe in that. I don't believe in fad diets and all that other stuff. It's not going to work. Like, Avic, what's your favorite food? Your favorite food that, it's not the best for you, but you like it. What's your favorite?
For me, all time food is definitely, it's a homemade food called, we call it as rice and a bit of vegetables. So it's what we have on a daily basis. Yeah.
So yeah, you're not used to our terrible American diet.
Pizza.
Like meal is like rice and vegetables and chicken. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot. We're in America.
I do love American foods as well, but
okay.
Yes, this is you can say it's all time anything. I mean, if you ask me, what's your all time food or like this, so it's like anyway I can have it. So it's quick food and yeah.
No, I think it's so cool because it's even just hearing a different perspective of, because again, Americans, we're known for eating horrible. So it's just like it's pretty cool. But you said something else. What was it that you said? Oh, you said something, and then I'm sorry, I gotta correct you. I know we just met each other, but you said it something to the effect, and I could be it wrong. You said it took me forever to finally learn. Or so I forget how you said it.
Yeah, it was something like that, because I mean, it's something I've realized about myself is, I mean, it's like life beats me over the head with the same lesson over and over until I finally figure it out. But I realize with other people now that I'm helping others, it's about being ready. It's about being ready for whatever your choice is, because it's not, I could sit here and say, I want $1 million, but am I ready to go hustle and work and make the sacrifices I need to make $1 million? Maybe not. Maybe I'm happy exactly where I'm at, which is just fine, but that's my choice.
But it was the same thing for you. Cause check this out. If you wouldn't have went through, which it sounds like it was a long, extensive journey.
Yes.
Right. But if you wouldn't have went through that, you would you've named like 3 books already that you wrote. Like you wouldn't have done that. Like if you would have,
I wouldn't have.
Like this, you would have been like, okay, well, that's nothing. But because because that event was so traumatic, was so like it just jarred you and jolted you so much. That is what gave you the power, the inspiration,
Yes.
the motivation of like, okay, I got out of the storm. Let me go back and save some people because there's a lot more of me out
Yes.
there. So, like, no, that was your journey, and it
I
took just
agree.
as long as it needed to take. And sometimes, because sometimes we think that we're like, man, this took so long. No, it's taking just as long as it needs to take.
Yes.
Because if you don't learn the lesson, you're gonna fall right back. I like to
Exactly.
think of it like I tell all my guys it's kind of like a video game. I remember playing a video game, Super Mario Brothers,
Yeah.
when I was young. And then at the end of the game, like at the end of each level, it has a boss. And you either beat the boss or you don't. And if you don't beat the boss, you got to go all the way back to the beginning and start over. But every time you do that, you get a little bit better and a little closer. And here's the cool thing: when you beat the boss and you go to level 2, and you're on level 2 and you're trying to teach someone level 1, oh, it's easy. You just do this, that, do. So that's the coolest thing about having a coach, a mentor, guidance, reading a book. It's like the cheat code. It's like, I don't know why they didn't teach us this stuff in school. So you
Right.
can, Dana, it took you this long. Whereas if I was to come to you, or one of your clients or customers or someone reading a book came to you, their time frame goes from this to this.
Exactly. Exactly. And I appreciate you saying that because it's something I tell people all the time. And it goes back to when everything's aligned, it's easy. We want things to happen in our time. It's usually why we fall into these terrible relationships because I want somebody right now. I don't want to wait for the right person. I want to get married right now. I want to have babies right now. And I realized at the end of all this, when I started writing my first book, that, wow, it's funny looking back that this childhood that I would have wished was different primed me for that marriage. But in that childhood, I wanted to be a hairdresser. I wanted to go to beauty school and do people's hair and stuff. And I was told, no, you're a typical narcissist. I can't brag about that. You're going to university. So I went to university. They tell me I'm good at speaking and writing. I fall into the journalism program. I study psychology because I know I'm going to need help after this, and I want to help others get out of these situations. But how ironic, I end up marrying a man that doesn't want me doing anything. He wants to he had me cleaning houses in this podunk town that he moved us 90 miles outside of the city of Chicago. It's like children of the corn out here. And I'm cleaning houses for years. And I'm a humble person, whatever. It paid the bills, raised my son, all is well. But funny how it all came full circle when I woke up. When I woke up, that was when I was like, oh, I have a responsibility to let people know what can really happen, what can happen to your body, what can happen to your mind if you if you reduce yourself to this victimhood, you insist on remaining in, that you insist you're being held in. And that is when I realized this is why I was put on this path, put on this earth, to a mother that never wanted me, to a stepfather that wanted me even less, to a first husband who put me in the position to gain more knowledge than I ever wanted to know about narcissism. But boy, when I needed that, that education in writing and the speaking and all this psychology to make sense, it was there. It was there because I had it, because it was part of my life's journey. So in that timing at 45 years old, when I was like, I got a responsibility to help other people. Oh, I'm going to take my journal and write a book, turn it into a book. And then it's just, like you said, it just, everything was laid out. And then a man that I've known his family 20 years comes out of the shadows and is like, here I am. And I'm like, oh God, help me, but okay. And I'm happily married now. And here's me thinking I'll never have a healthy relationship in my life. And guess what? Have hiccups once in a while. I mean, I am affected by the past, but boy, I never thought I was capable of being in a healthy relationship and a good marriage. And yeah, I wanted to write one book. I've written 3 now that'll be out by it's ridiculous again how it's just It's like the red carpet has been laid out. Like, oh, you finally figured it out, lady. Well, here you go. Keep walking down the red carpet. It's just they're full steam ahead. So I hope that for everybody. And that's why I always challenge people. I'll say it again. Ask yourself, what do I want? Because when everybody knows something they want out of life. And if it's really your passion, if you really want it, boy, you can't unsee that vision and you will start to make that progress. You will start to take steps unconsciously to make that a reality.
Exactly. That's lovely, really lovely. So, thanks everyone for sharing this, because this definitely gonna, I believe people gonna resonate with their life. So it's very important that we create this awareness. And thanks for all of my guests, like you, the expert guests, who actually shares this and make it easier for the listeners to for their upcoming parts. So thanks for the same. And also, one advice, if you would like to share with the listeners, what it would be. So one each. I mean, if you can share.
Go for it, Tywin.
No, Dana, go ahead. Ladies first. I
Are you
insist.
sure? All right, you're sweet. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I would just say piece of advice, just I keep saying it, but just set a goal, figure out what it is you want out of life. And, the next question I asked myself after, what do I want? I knew exactly what I wanted. Very easily, three things I wanted, and I'm living them now. But the question after that, after knowing those three things, was, am I going to achieve those things doing what I'm doing right now? No, that was an absolute no. And I tell people, don't give me maybe or let me, no. You have to just go with your gut on that. I think your people should follow their gut a lot more than they do, but you just really have to have an idea, a vision. What do you want your life to look like? Because there's nothing so fantastical or out of this world. I mean, I can't say you're going to be the Queen of England, but you can wear a crown around your house, whatever. We can figure it out and we can scale it, to wherever it needs to be. But you have to know what you want. You have to know what you want. Otherwise, you're just shooting darts in the dark. And if you're just going to let your life go like that, that's up to you. But I think you have a lot of choices. Everything's a choice. Doesn't mean it's easy to make the right choices or the choices that are best for you. But it's a lot nicer to have a life that, again, we talk about this alignment. It's so much nicer. You have a sense of inner peace, your mind, your physical, mental health, everything sort of resolves itself when you have that peace and you have that genuine, authentic way of being and way of living.
That was
Lovely.
good. That was so good.
Thank you.
I would say, to anybody listening to this, I'm gonna say two things. Number one, stop playing small. There's no reason to play small. Like anybody that's listening to this, I don't know you, but here's what I do know. Put on this earth to do absolutely amazing thing, and you have a very specific mission. And the only way you're going to do that mission is if you start playing big and stop thinking small. And then probably the second thing that I would say is stop making excuses.
Yes.
Stop making excuses for why you're where you're at and this and that. Whatever you want. Look, it's an excuse, right? Take full control, full responsibility, because as soon as you do that, I mean, immediately, as soon as you take full responsibility for your life, you now take the power from anybody or anything, and now it's directly in your control, and you can immediately start changing your life.
I love that. That's so true. High five.
Lovely.
Let's say high five. I like you, Dana. I
like you
Dana.
too. I know. We're just going to keep going, Avic. No, I'm just kidding.
Lovely. Yeah. Definitely, we can come up with another show on this, and
Yes.
we can discuss more in details about the same way we are discussing, because I'm also very much interested in discussing all this, because I was really loving uh, the discussion was coming up, and at the end, it's definitely gonna helpful for the listeners. So that's our main aim behind it. So yeah, definitely. And dear listeners, as we have seen, like so both of our guests are much curious. So we will definitely come back with another show with both of them
Yay.
on it to discuss more about it for sure. And for today, thank you so much, everyone, for joining on this episode of Healthy Waves. And I believe, like, today's conversation was not just a kind of introduction, or not a kind of question answer thing. It's all about the real life discussions with it. So definitely it has provided you with the valuable insights and inspiration to enhance your health and the well-being. So for this, a special thanks to our incredible guests, Tywin and Dana, for sharing their expertise and the personal journey with us. So I would love to mention to all of you that I, I mean, it's very important that each step towards understanding our mind body connection
Yeah.
and addressing that traumas behind is definitely a steps towards a healthier and more fulfilled life. So
Yes.
if you enjoyed this episode, do not forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends, family, or someone who actually needs to
Yes.
learn from
Yes.
this
Yes.
and get things from this episode. So stay tuned for more engaging discussions and the expert advice on the next episodes of Healthy Waves. And till then, keep riding the wave of
Abby,
positive change.
Abby.
Yeah, please.
Before you let everybody go, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
did me
yeah,
interrupt that. Super rude.
yeah.
Usually don't do it, but I have to say this. And I wanted everybody to hear this. Like kudos to you,
Yeah.
Dana. Like I know a lot of times when you're the author, when you're the one putting in work, nobody gives you kudos. So
It's okay.
kudos to you for being brave enough to share your story, being brave enough to go through your journey and share it with others to inspire others and transform others' lives. So like kudos to you
Thank
for
you.
that
That's
awesome.
very sweet. And I love your positive energy and your vibe. Like we really, hopefully, Avik, you will have us both on again. Cause I swear we're like
Exactly,
the dynamic duo over here, or trio as the case may be.
exactly.
So I know, for real, high fives all over. But yes, and thank you, Avik, for bringing us together. I think this is amazing. But thank you, Tywin. That was very sweet. But you know what? Somebody's got to do it. And I say all the time, I clawed my way out of the mud pit. I'm just reaching down to bring everyone else up.
There you go. Sorry, Abby.
I, I did my best part. So I'm just a bridge between my guests and my listeners. So I believe everyone is happy. I'm happy. So it's
Yay.
really really great. It's really great to and this is my achievement. You can say, like, when my guests are happy and my listeners are happy, they can resonate. It's the best achievement. It's I only can feel.
Well,
So
you're changing lives, Avik. That's what you're doing. And that's what we're here to help you with. So thank you for bringing us all together.
Yeah, Abby, thank you. This is
thank
how cool is this? Like, let's just stop for a second and pause
I
for a
know.
second. Abby, Abby, are you in India? Is that where you're from?
yeah,
All
I'm in
right.
India.
So India, and then Dana, where do you live?
Sort of Chicago in the
Right?
realm.
Chicago, Florida, like three people didn't know anybody, like
Yeah.
we don't know each other, and just kudos to you, Avic, for putting something like this
Yeah.
together. Because it's so powerful. So like
It really is.
kudos to you guys, high fives, like yeah, okay, I'm done. Sorry. I got a
You
little
might
excited.
knock me over if I ever high five you in real life, Tywin. I'm just saying. All I see is these muscles.
I
I
love
think
it,
I
man.
weigh as much as one of your arms.
I love it. You guys are
Lovely.
awesome. You're the best.
Great. So
I
thank you
tone it
so much.
down with my leopard shirt. That's how I like it. This is really big to be wearing like a leopard print shirt. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, that was a brave choice, but